EA totally changed how defense works in college football 27, and if you don't master the 5 tips I'm breaking down here today, it could be the reason your defense is still trash for the rest of the year. Luckily for you, those 5 tips cover everything you're going to need to master here on defense, including the new best settings to even the best defensive formations that you can't live without. You're not going to, again, want to miss out on anything I'm breaking down today, so be sure to watch all the way to the end. Let's jump right into it. Like I mentioned, there's a ton of new settings here in college football 27, and I want to break down what they all mean and which ones you need to be using. Let me show you. Alright, so we're on the main menu here. We're going to come into settings. We're going to come into game settings. Alright, and so you can save these coaching adjustments, the coaching adjustments here, not the game options, but the coaching adjustments you can save actually in the main menu, so there's no more having to set zone drops every single game. But we're going to be breaking down the ones that are important here in this segment. Alright, for defense, obviously, you want to make sure that you have timing, base catching, and minimum throw distance for defense. I would recommend that you start on 10 yards. You could put this on 0, but essentially the meter is going to move too fast on anything under 10 yards. So it's going to be really hard to time and green, and when you green interception in this game, it's going to make it to where you essentially are able to catch, all of them and be able to get more turnovers. So I recommend that you put this on 10 yards just so that you know that any pass that goes past the first down marker, you're going to have to green. All right. Then we're going to scroll down until we find a defensive ball hawk. You want to make sure this is on so that your defenders, because you see as it says the warning is disabling it, causes the defenders to attack the ball less aggressively. You don't want that, so make sure that this is on. You want to make sure that you have heat seeker assist on. User controlled defenders are steered towards the ball carrier when attempting to run or dive into them. This is going to be super important for you to be able to bring down ball carriers when you're trying to stop the run. Alright, you want to make sure that you have your heat seeker window size therefore at 200%, which is going to be the highest possible setting that you have to make it easier to get those suction tackles. In previous years I told you guys to use 100, but it's harder to stop the run in this game, so I'd recommend you go the most, 200% here. And then obviously switch stick delay on none. You do not want there to be any delay from the time that you're flicking the right stick to the time that you're actually getting clicked on the player that you want to user. There's a bug in this game which makes switch stick slower than it is, or than it should be, and you don't want to add any more delay to that. So make sure you have switch stick delay on none. But then we come to our coaching adjustments. I'm going to break it down the ones that are actually new here. I've talked about some of these other ones that are still important in previous videos, but the new ones, defender aggression, you want to make sure that you have this on aggressive. The reason why is you want to give yourself the best chance to get stamina wins, or to be able to get off blocks faster, with your defensive linemen, especially if you have really elite teams like Oregon, Miami, Notre Dame, Texas. You want to be able to get off the ball faster with your defensive linemen and really affect the line of scrimmage in the passing game. But next, we have gap integrity. You want to make sure that this is on conservative. Right now, there's pancake blocks. Guys are falling over. Run defense is really hard. And when you put it on aggressive, which is what I started the year on, I used it for about a week, and then I realized, hey, this is why my run defense absolutely sucks. So make sure that you have this on conservative so that you can maintain stronger leverage and not really worry too much about attacking gaps, which is what you're going to do with your user anyway. All right. Then we want to make sure that we have our cornerback depth. All of these depth and width settings for the cornerbacks and for the safeties, I'm using them on default right now. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm just going to set all of them in my macros and my custom adjustments for each play that I'm calling. So I'll leave it on default in my coaching adjustments, and then in my macros, I'm actually going to set it and change it. So again, all of these on default. If you go into your coaching adjustments in game, you can also, set your safety depth to about 9 if you want to be able to play good red zone defense to stop the seam. If you're trying to stop an RPO, which we'll talk about later in the video, I'll show you the macro for that, so make sure you stick around. But I would put my safety depth on 5 if I'm trying to stop an RPO or try to stop the run. Again, ball hawk on aggressive. That's really important. Zone strategy. A lot of people are telling you to put this on aggressive. I personally use it on default, and then I change it actually in game for every single play, or I'll change it based on the macro that I'm using. I really think that aggressive curl flats are really good. Default curl flats on aggressive are good, but I don't want to put my deep zones and potentially put my hook zones, have them playing aggressively. So I'm really just using my zone strategy here on default and then changing it based on the situation that we're in. Plaster on aggressive, you want to be able to lock onto these receivers once the quarterback rolls out, which is why I have it on out of pocket. And then I also want to make sure you have your plaster time on aggressive so that they lock on as early as possible here, when the quarterback actually ends up rolling out. Zone drops, all of these are going to be totally based on the situation that you're in on defense. And so you kind of just want to set them here to default and then change them in game or with a specific macro, which is what I'm doing right now a lot on defense. All right, man coverage bunch check. All right, you want to make sure this is on default, please. Point combo is good, especially when you're running man coverage, but when you're running zone, which is what I do a lot, then it messes up your zone coverage and basically turns it into match. So I'd recommend that you just end up having this on default, and then if you're in game and you're running man coverage, press the right stick in, go to your coaching adjustments, and that's where you can put this on point combo to help better defend bunch formations. All right, I don't run cover 3 match, so I'm not going to talk about any of these. I don't think it's that good. But for the quarters check, I had this on box. All right, the reason why I had this on box, it's less aggressive. Bingo, it's going to be more aggressive underneath, especially when you're running cover 4 quarters against bunch. Box is a little bit more conservative, so if you're giving up flats, running cover 4 quarters with the box check on, put this on bingo. It'll help you out. I'll certainly be breaking down why in more detail in future videos. And then same thing for palms against bunch. You want to make sure that you also have this on box because bingo will be more aggressive. So I'm going to start on box, and then if I need to go to bingo, I will to help defend the underneath. And then the same thing for the cover 6 check, which is really just cover 4 match on one side, making sure that this is on box, and then we switch to bingo if we want to be more aggressive. But when you run cover 6, with bingo turned on, it's so aggressive because you don't have another cover 4 side on the other side. It's cover 2. So cover 6 bunch bingo is really aggressive and can lead to a lot of big plays. So I almost never change my cover 6 check to bingo. I pretty much always leave it on box. But that's a full breakdown basically of all the best, defensive settings I'm using, coaching adjustments, game options, and why you should be using them. All right, next I want to break down the foundation of defense here in college football 27 because they change all the quick adjustments that you need to be using, but now you have to get better with them and relearn them. Let me show you exactly how to do just that. Alright, so these coaching adjustments, the thing that I like about this game in particular is they made it a lot faster to make quick adjustments, especially for the average player. Alright, so what we're going to see right here is we are going to be in cover 3 sky. Alright, so this is going to be pretty much the same every defense you're in. In college football 26, in order to adjust a safety, let's say for example, let's talk about Bray Hubbard, I would have had to press Y twice. So that's 2 button presses, or triangle twice. Then I would have had to press his icon, which would be RB. All right, so that would be 3 button presses. And then I would have to use the 4th button press in order to, let's say, put him in an inside third. Now, if I wanted to do that same adjustment, it's Y, RB, and inside third, which you're going to say, BLT, that's only 1 less button press. Well, it makes a difference across 6 different adjustments that you have to make. Every single adjustment being 1 less button press is going to be very, very beneficial for you. So if I wanted to turn this particular defense here into a cover 2 on one side, I could put Bray Hubbard in a deep half, so I could press Y or triangle, then RB or R1, and then flick the right stick up to put him in a deep half. Then I would press Y, press B, and then I would put this guy in a cloud flat. All right, so now this is what my defense might look like. And then really if I wanted to put, my safety right here, or really I guess I can't put him in that zone, but I believe I could put this linebacker in a middle third, right? So now I have basically a cover 3 defense, but it's a cover 3 cloud now. And so previously that would have been like 9 button presses when instead it's just 6. And so again, every single button press is going to save you a lot of time on defense and allow you to be able to actually get adjustments off. So those are just, the adjustments here. But to change your coverage globally, it used to be pressing Y and then like right stick down to shade underneath, or right stick to the right to shade outside. And now that's going to be holding left trigger. So now left trigger is going to be, or L2, is going to be your global coverage adjustment. So I can shade my entire defense underneath. Instead of pressing Y and then right stick down in previous years, it's now left trigger and right stick down. And so these new coaching adjustments, these new, settings here are all going to take time to practice, but it's a lot easier. Great job by EA making these changes to be able to make these adjustments faster. Now, this is one that's going to, throw some people off as well. You can't actually back off your players like how you used to. Instead, what you're going to have to do, let's say I wanted to press Ryan Williams, I could press left trigger, then I would click his icon. So press left trigger to open the global adjustments, then click his icon, and then I can press him. But then I can do the same thing where I press left trigger, press his icon, and then back off of him. So instead of, I think last year was maybe Y, then A, then clicking his icon, and then backing him off, which is like 4 or 5 button presses. Now you only really have to do with 3. So that's another thing, backing off a corner. They kind of hit it in my opinion, but now kind of figured it out here. But also shifting your D-line. Your D-line is going to be your D-line is going to be the right stick to the left, and then linebackers are going to be right stick to the right here. So again, they changed up a lot of these adjustments. Pressing left trigger is going to be your global coverage adjustments. Pressing or the right stick to the left is going to be shifting your D-line or opening your D-line. Pressing it to the right is going to be for your linebackers, and then if you want to individually change a specific player's assignment, you press Y or triangle, then click their icon, and then make that particular adjustment that you want to make. You can also again put your curl flats or any zone on aggressive, like I alluded to earlier, by clicking onto them and putting them on aggressive specifically instead of the entire team. But a ton of new adjustments here on defense in CFP 27, and those are how that you do all of them. Alright, so if you found this breakdown of all the new best defensive features and settings here in College Football 27, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down College Football 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I drop. I'm the only one that's going to be posting daily, so again, this is really the best channel to watch and take information from, so make sure you're subscribed. But if you're serious about transforming your defense here in CFP 27, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where you can get your first month for 20% off by using code YouTube at checkout. It has my full 4-5 man pressure defensive ebook plus a bunch of updated tips they're going to be dropping all throughout the week, every single week. If you're serious about getting better all year long, that's really the place to be to connect with me. And you can save all the breakdowns on your phone, so you never have to go surfing through a video mid-game to find a specific tip. But let's jump right back into the video. Alright, next I want to break down what may be the most important new adjustment and feature here on defense in CFP 27. Let me introduce you to custom adjustments. Alright, so again, I'm on the main menu here. We're going to come down to create and share. We're going to come down to custom adjustment. Alright, and so you'll hear people call these macros as well, because essentially you're just coding your defense before, on the main menu, so that when you get in game, you can basically just press, 2 buttons and your defense will be set up. Alright, and so really what we're going to break down here is how to set these up. So all you're going to do, press create adjustment, and then you click any of these icons here. I could route commit my entire defense inside. I could disable defensive motion response. I could put my gap integrity on conservative, right? So some of these are like coaching adjustments as well, but the main ones that make this good is you can stunt. So you could call the right tempi 4-man stunt already. This is going to be great to stop outside runs. You can also, put your corners really where you want them. Let's say you wanted them at 20 yards. You wanted your safeties though to be at, yards. Again, your coaching adjustments are different. So your coaching adjustments actually get overridden by these. So if you have your coaching adjustments set to cornerback depth to 9, but then you call this macro, they're going to back up, right, to 20 yards. So this is just kind of the end all be all here with all of your different settings. Whatever you have your coaching adjustments to, once you macro into a play, all of those get left at the door, and it totally picks up what your macros are. So you could set your zone drops, but what a lot of people do, and kind of what's best here with your macros, is specific assignments for specific players. So you could put your cornerback 1, who is on the left side of the field in most formations. You could put him in any zone. You could put your cornerback 2 on the right side in any zone. You could put your slot corner in a zone, safety, strong safeties, edge rushers. But it's very important to understand who is who. So if you don't know who your left edge rusher is, you need to get in practice mode and figure out who that is before you come and set the macro. Or really, you could just set the macro, and then if it's wrong, then just come back and change it, once you look at it in practice mode. But you can set all these different settings, and then once you have them set, you would just press X or square to save it, and then you name it, and then it's going to be on it's going to be this list right here. Like I have my 10, you have 10 saved adjustments and then 10 benched adjustments. So if you have two different schemes that you want to run, you could save 10, bench the other 10, and then you could switch schemes and put the other 10 in the lineup. But the one that I want to show you here that I really like and that we're going to talk about later in the video as well, again, as far as RPO defense, is again RPO defense. So what I like to do, shade the coverage underneath, pass commit, all right? That's going to make sure you have hard flats, and that's going to make sure that those hard flats aren't looking into the backfield to defend the RPO run. Instead, they're focused on the pass. All right, then we're going to continue scrolling down. I have my RPO pass heat on conservative. Now, I already have that set in my coaching adjustments, so really this isn't necessary, but it's like if I accidentally change it to aggressive in my coaching adjustments, then when I call this macro, it's going to be back to how I want it, which is on conservative. All right, then we are going to continue scrolling. This macro is pretty simple, but I'm going to have my cornerback depth on 9 yards to, make sure that they're closer to the line of scrimmage, but I'm going to have my safeties on 5 so that they can come down and really help me defend the run, and then the rest of the guys can just defend the pass. Safety width on pinch. All right, and then we're going to have our flats on default. We're going to have our zone strategy on aggressive. All right, so that, our guys are just playing as aggressive as possible on those underneath passes, on those flats. And then that might be it for, I think that's it. I think that actually is it. But I'm going to continue scrolling here to make sure, because I don't really think I need to put anyone else in any zones here with this macro. And yeah, that's it. So it's like, I'm going to show you here on the field in a couple of segments here how the RPO defense actually works. But we're going to get all the settings down in our macros so that when we get to the line of scrimmage, we don't really have to make any adjustments. So really, that's macros, how you use them, how you set them up, and why they're so effective. All right, so before I jump into those final 2 defensive tips that you're absolutely not going to want to miss here in College Football 27, again, I wanted to remind you to go down below, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be breaking down College Football 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button today, and let's jump right back into the video. Because next I want to break down how you can actually improve your user defender. Not enough players truly understand what this means when I tell you this, but this is going to drastically improve your pass defense. Let me show you why. Alright, so this is something that is going to drastically, like I said, improve your defense here. And that actually is how to improve your user defender. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about in the passing game. So I'm going to have them in a random pass play here. And what I mean by improving your user defender, they're going to call, let's just have them call this play right here. Every play is going to be different, all right, depending on, really where you need to be with your user, okay? So what you don't want to do, first of all, you don't want to ever user a defensive lineman, all right? So when you get caught in your D-line, it's just really easy to just step up in the pocket and find guys open down the field, wide open down the field there. And so it's just going to be really easy to attack pretty much every defense you go to, right? You're using a defensive lineman, you're going to be leaving the middle wide open, right? All they have to do, height throw that, green that catch right there. I thought it was going to catch that, but there's so many holes in your defense because you don't have a user defender on the field. So you also don't ever want to get in the habit of using a safety, because if they call a route concept like this where they're going to try to get the attention of your user with like an in route, boom, now that B receiver is wide open over the top for a touchdown because you came down to defend an in route that was kind of running to your area. So just let the computer use their zone logic to defend those deep zones. So the only guys that are left are linebackers here. You want to make sure that you're using either Woodson right here or Reese, all right? And so really, again, your 2 linebackers. So BLT, I get it. I'm going to use her a linebacker. But how do I know where I need to be on every play? And so really that's going to come down to your judgment, and you have to work on your judgment here. So what I mean by that is they call a route concept like this, where they have a crosser and an in route. Too many of you guys come down to guard the in route and then leave the crosser wide open in the middle of the field right there for an easy completion, where it's like you're doing it backwards. You should be taking away the crosser and then letting them hit the in route and then, coming up and making a tackle. Or sometimes you could also play really great defense, put hard flats on the field, and take away both. But again, also, you have to understand what coverage you have on the field. Think about this. I have hard flats on the field, right? I'm shaded underneath. I don't need to come down here and guard this, right? I don't need to come take away a flat. I already have a hard flat there. So it's like really making sure that you're taking away, as I say, the deepest threat to your defense that actually is on the field. So again, we go back to this example with verticals. They have an angle route and they have a crosser. This is a very common play. All I need to do, take away this crosser and then force them to hit that check down underneath. Because sometimes they will, and sometimes they'll just be looking deep for too long and then they'll just get sacked. So whenever we're talking about having a good user, you always have to be taking away the deepest threat on the field and making sure that that guy is guarded before anyone else, all right? So we see it again. We'll go to another example where they're going to call a play like this, right? Always want to stay over the middle. And this is a question that I get. BLT, I see this hook zone, this hook curl in the field. Is this the area that I'm supposed to be, like right here? The answer is kind of. Because yes, that if you take this off the field, like if you blitzed, there's no one in that area now. So yes, that is an area that you should be looking to guard, but the reality is if they don't attack that area, you're not just going to stand there and guard nothing. You're always looking for work with your user on the field. So again, we have this, they're calling quick slants, I'm using both of those slants, and now we have a perfect defense. Because you see how, although my hook zone was on the left, the guy who was actually open was wide, right here on the right side of the field. So yes, you're going to have to leave your area sometimes in order to cover down the field really well. So really, that's how you're going to improve your user defender. You're really just going to build discipline to know that you're just trying to take away the deepest threat over the middle of the field pretty often with their user or with your user. Not to say that, okay, if they call a corner out and no one's there, you should get out there and guard that. But it's like staying over the middle, taking away the deepest threat over the middle is kind of going to be your best friend here. Give up that drag, take away this post down the field because it could be open. So really work on those things, mastering having a disciplined user, being in the right spots, not coming down and taking away drag when posts are open, and you're going to drastically improve your pass defense and your user defender. All right, and that fifth and final defensive tip that I want to break down here is going to be how to stop RPOs in college football 27, because they're one of the easiest plays to be able to abuse every single year. The run is really good in this game, which also makes RPOs that much better. Let me show you how to shut them down. Alright, so like I mentioned, RPOs, some of the best plays for you to be able to utilize and attack here in this game, so you have to be able to defend them. So what we're going to do, we're in nickel 3-3 cub, although you can do this for pretty much every defense in the game, but all we're going to do, we're at any cover 3 defense in the game, but my play here is cover 3 buzz, alright? And so all I'm going to do is press LB or L1 and then press my macro, the button, for RPO defense. Now, when you're actually in that macro screen, like I showed you earlier in the video, you want to make sure that you have all of your macros named so that you know what they actually do when you call them. Like if you just call them random stuff, you're gonna have to think about what that macro is at the line of scrimmage, and you don't want to do that. All of these here are clearly defined. I know what all of them do, and so I know exactly, RPO defense it doesn't really get simpler than that. So I'm going to press my D-pad to the right to open my RPO defense macro. You see how now basically what happened was my safety walked down, my slot corner backed up, I put all of my zones on aggressive, my coverage is shaded down, and so now pretty much anti-pass committed. So that's like 12 or 13, maybe more button presses last year. So now we have that all set up in 2. So now all that I have to do, the final adjustment when you're using this RPO defense, is actually manning up who you think is getting the ball. The reason why I didn't include it in the macro, actually you can, but you wouldn't want to because it could change. This is universal RPO defense. Who's actually getting the ball in offense that you want to man up changes based on the formation. But here, they're in trips, so I know the only guy that's probably getting the ball is the slot receiver, the inside receiver, so I'm just going to man him up. So now you see, all I really have to do is be ready to stop the run with my user, because I'm already pass committed, I already have hard flats, and I already have the guy manned up, which is what I would teach you guys to do last year, all year, when we're talking about stopping RPOs, and it's the same in this game. But now we have it all set up basically with 2 buttons. So now we take the snap and we see exactly that, where he's right there every single time to be able to defend that RPO. The reason why you have to man up who you think is getting the ball is because if you left this guy in a hook, he would backpedal and give this up. And then you also can't rely on one defender, the hard flat, to be able to defend this because he's just going to get blocked, especially if they're in a trips formation. So you add a third player here where this receiver gets up here and blocks the outside corner. He gets up here and blocks the slot corner, and that opens up an easy lane for me to just be able to run right through and stop that RPO. Now, what you also want to understand is there are RPO tells in this game as well. So if you look at your play art like this, you press Y, LB, and then you see the halfback is A, that means an RPO is coming, like, guaranteed. Now, not every formation is that going to be a tell. You can see how this is obviously still an RPO from them, and the halfback is RB, but I'm just telling you, if you notice that, you see that he's A, now you're good to go for, RPO defense. But especially when they get into the red zone, I'm always going to set up RPO defense because I always want to take that away. But press LB, then press D-pad to the right, open up your RPO defense, man up who you think's getting the ball, which is going to be X right here. And so now, again, we're going to have the pass commit, the shade down, the man up, and we have our safeties closer to the line of scrimmage. So now all I have to do is be ready to loop around and stop the run with my user, and I'm able to do just that. They're going to have nowhere to run. So once you set up the macro and then you man the guy up, they have nowhere to pass, and then you can just loop around and focus on stopping the run with your user, which is exactly what you're going to have to do against RPO. So RPOs really don't have to be that hard to stop, because in previous years you would have had to know it was an RPO and then set up the defense for it. Now I could just know it's an RPO, press LB, D-pad right to open up my RPO defense, then man up their threat, and now we're going to have perfect textbook RPO defense with, again, really only 4 button presses. Alright, so if you found those 5 defensive tips to transform your gameplay here on defense in College Football 27, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. Again, I'm the only one that's going to break down CFB 27 tips and tricks here on YouTube for you guys every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you're serious about transforming your defense here in College Football 27, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join CFB University, where you can get your first month for 20% off by using code YouTube at checkout. It goes through the full videos, screenshots, write-ups of all of my updated offensive and defensive tips, plus my brand new 4-2-5 man pressure defense that really is the best defense in the game. Save everything to your phone, always be able to reference it, and if you want to see a short video of what CFBU actually looks like and what's inside, check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Peace.